Indians are heading to the polls for local and national elections this year 2024 in one of, if not the world's longest democratic processes. Well, it indubitably is. The elections will take place between April the 1st and May the 31st this year. One of the things the world will eagerly be looking at is whether or not the incumbent Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to fulfill his ambition of getting the third term. In this special Global Arena Explainer, we are looking at elections in Mahatma Gandhi's, or let me just say, Narendra Modi's India. First of all, India is dubbed as the world's largest democracy. Not the best democracy though. This is simply because elections in India take over a month to finish, largely due to their population, which makes it seemingly the world's most populous nation, now competing with China, though the Chinese challenge their regional geopolitical rival to the issue of productivity and development. Remember, in our introductory explainer, we talked about an important political point where I said, and I quote, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, often described by his critics as quote-unquote a fascist, Hindu nationalist and a populist leader, is seeking for re-election, specifically the third term, which if he succeeds, as it is his, and of course the hope of his people, will continue to lead the home of Bollywood until 2029, surpassing his predecessor Manmohan Singh, and that would undoubtedly make him one of the longest serving prime ministers in India's history, spending somewhere in the region of, 15 years in power. So what makes the India's elections uniquely different? First off, India is the world's largest democracy with over 900 million eligible voters. This translates to a massive logistical undertaking requiring painstakingly meticulous planning and execution by the Election Commission of India, the ECI. Another important point is that elections in India cover national, state and local levels with different bodies like Lok Sabha, that is the parliament, state assemblies and municipal councils all involved. This complexity further expands the scale and duration of the electoral process. Other significant factors that have made the Khan's country's elections complexly unique are having multiple parties, issues of caste, religion and the rest, which have all fallen under what political scientists refer to as quote-unquote identity politics. Just like in Nigeria, someone might have thought about that under their breath. But let us not forget that despite all these challenges, India consistently exhibits high voter turnout, often exceeding 60%, showcasing the population's engagement in the democratic process.
Hello, this is Ram and I'm based in Bangalore, India. I taught Media and Communications at the London School of Economics, and I have been a postdoctoral fellow at the International Center for Advanced Studies in New Delhi. And today I'm very happy to be speaking about the general elections in India to Umar Isa Dandago on his show Global Arena.
Well, it's always good to have you, Dr. Ram Bhat, on Global Arena. Dr. Ram goes on to give us some facts about elections in his country that are worth hearing.
Well, India gained independence in 1947, and the first general elections were held in late 1951 to early 1952. Now, like many other countries in the world, India has general elections once every 5 years. What makes Indian elections unique is the scale of it. During the last election of 2019, around 900 million people were eligible, and I think around 610 or 11 million people, which is about 67%, took part in the elections. More than 650 political parties contested in these elections, although apart from a few nationally significant political parties, the majority of the parties are extremely local and have very small area of influence. There are only a handful of parties that are nationally significant or have significance in multiple states.
Now, since our childhood, a lot of us have been made to believe that Nigeria and Nigerians have a lot in common with the Indians. This is simply because of our attachment with the Bollywood film industry. But amazingly, Dr. Bhat is trying to prove this point politically, not Bollywoodily. Of course.
Now, candidates, especially those from the bigger parties, tend to spend millions in their election campaigns. Much of it goes for publicities, holding huge rallies, but a lot of money also goes as incentives to voters, offering them clothes, alcohol, food, and of course, cash.
Give him money? Are you kidding me? Oh, so let us stop acting as if this is happening only in Nigeria. By the way, we are not endorsing it. And this brings us to the next crucial issue. Who, in capital letters, is Narendra Modi? For starters, he is the India's Prime Minister, has been since 2014 when I was in secondary school. And right now, there is an opposition alliance called India, that is Indian National Development Inclusive Alliance, INDIA, that aims to defeat him in the election. Can they? I don't know, it's democracy, so let's wait for the Indians to decide. But Dr. Bhat has got some incredible points about him, that's Mr. Modi, some of which could be considered by his die-hard fans as baseless.
He became Chief Minister of Gujarat state 3 times from 2001 all the way till 2014. Under his first term as Chief Minister, in 2002, large-scale communal conflict broke out in Gujarat, with Muslims being the worst affected. More than 2,000 people were killed. And Modi is often accused as indirectly responsible for the violence since his administration failed to act in time and prevent the violence.
But one funny thing about Mr. Modi is that his popularity has risen exponentially among the Hindus, and some see him among the famous politicians in the world.
Since then, his popularity has increased with a radical section of the Hindu voters who are in favor of Hindu nationalism, and his government has spent a lot of money on publicity and has created an image of him as a strong leader that has increased India's stature globally. And he is also seen as a decisive leader who takes tough decisions that need to be taken for development.
But outside of India, at the global level, what's the impact of this election and what sort of image does Mr. Modi have globally? I've got one of the world's leading experts of Indian politics, Dr. Diego Maiorano.
My name is Dr. Diego Maiorano. I am a senior assistant professor at the University of Naples, L'Orientale, and a visiting research fellow at the National University of Singapore. And I'm speaking to Umar Isa Dandago on his show Global Arena.
Dr. Diego begins by painting a comprehensive picture of the significance of 2024 in relations to elections and democracy as well.
2024 is indeed a crucial year electorally. There are elections in a record number of countries, some of which are very large or very important economically or geopolitically. It is also a crucial year for democracy, for global democracy, as many of these countries that go to the polls during 2024 have seen quite severe democratic erosion over the last few years. These include the United States, where polarization and the erosion of democratic norms have been very severe, the UK, and also other countries such as India or Sri Lanka and many others worldwide. So it is important to see whether these countries that have seen democratic erosion will see support for autocrats or rulers who are elected democratically but then rule in an undemocratic way, will see their support confirmed at the polls. So it's just a very crucial year because the results, the overall results of this election might shape geopolitics and global alliances quite profoundly.
Well, 10 years ago, that was in 2014, Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, swept the polls with an absolute majority, a hugely significant history not made for decades earlier, which brought Narendra Modi to power. But some experts believe that that enormous power has been so overwhelming that got mishandled by the leadership of the Modi's government.
Well, India is going to the polls in 2024, and it's indeed a crucial election because Prime Minister Modi and his party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, are seeking a third term in power. In 2014, the BJP swept the polls and won an absolute majority of the seats in the lower chamber, which hadn't happened since 1984. So it was a very significant shift in terms of the functioning of Indian democracy. And the BJP and Prime Minister Modi have used this enormous power in a way that has clearly eroded democratic norms. We see this as recorded in a number of indexes that measure the quality of democracy worldwide, such as Freedom House or VDEM, that now do not consider India as a full liberal democracy anymore.
I, just like many other foreign policy pundits, believe that this year's elections in India will or have already started generating a great deal of global attention. But why is India this crucially significant on the global stage? Dr. Maiorano.
And so Mr. Modi seeking a third term might cement his support at the helm of what is the most populous countries in the world, and one that has received increasing global attention, especially because of its role in balancing China. So it is a very significant election, not only for Indians, but indeed for the whole world.
Well, in the whole of this world, only a handful of world leaders have been able to successfully capture our attention, and Mr. Modi is indeed one of them. Let me not forget Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey and of course Xi Jinping of China. But a strong disclaimer here, this is not because of their quote-unquote fascist, populist or even authoritarian style of leadership, and that is if they accept they are such, but because each of the aforementioned leaders has managed to forge relations with different global arena players. But how is Mr. Modi being seen by other world leaders? Spoiler alert, under his watch, India hasn't yet aligned itself with any other major power blindly, but he still has got his own issues. Dr. Diego Maiorano is back with a very comprehensive analysis on this.
Well, Prime Minister Modi is seen by other world leaders as especially in the West, as one that is trying to make India a very strong and important country in global affairs, one that is trying to reshape the functioning of global institutions such as the UN or the World Bank or other international organizations in a way that takes into account the global shift in politics, in global politics. Countries such as India, China, of course, but also others from the global south have an increasingly important voice in global affairs, and India is seen as one of the countries that is trying to project this voice into the global arena in order to reshape the functioning of global institutions. On the other hand, many world leaders do see that Mr. Modi has been governing India in not fully democratic a way. Elections are still free and fair, but whatever happens between elections has a lot to be desired, leaves a lot to be desired in terms of the functioning of the democratic institutions. And most world leaders do see this clearly. However, they are also very inclined to turn the blind eye of what is happening in India, partly because India is a sovereign country, and so they have the right to do whatever they want as long as they respect international law, but also because India is seen as a counterweight to China, and this is very important, especially for the United States, the European Union, but also other countries in the Indo-Pacific, such as Australia and Japan. So it is. Modi is seen as an important potential ally, even though India has been conducting a very clever and risky, one might say, foreign policy, because it has refused to align with either the West or any other countries in order to retain its strategic autonomy. So it's an important partner, but not one that will likely align blindly with the Western countries' agenda.
Well, from the end of 2023 right through the beginning of 2024, most, if not all of the analyses we have followed are suggesting strongly that Mr. Modi will be achieving his ambitiously historic third term. In Dr. Diego Maiorano's words, Modi is very likely to win again. Will he? How?
Modi is very likely to win again at the next general election, which will be at the latest in May 2024. All polls predict that the BJP will come back with an absolute majority, perhaps a reduced majority compared to 2019, but the popularity of the Prime Minister and of his party are really high, and so it would be a very, very surprising to see any other outcome at the forthcoming elections.
Finally, as a huge Bollywood fan, I would say that Bollywood and Indian politics have for long been intertwined, with several actors making the leap from the silver screen to the parliament chambers. Here are some prominent names. Hema Malini, Dhirmendra's second wife, absolutely not Sonny Deol's mother. We also have Amitabh Bachchan's wife, that is Jaya Bachchan, the mother of Abhishek Bachchan. There is also Raj Babbar, Sonny Deol's brother in Gayal. Let's not forget legends like Vinod Khanna and of course Sanjay Dutt's father Sunil Dutt. But the list goes on and on. So the final question Global Arena Explainer would like to put is, are we likely to see a Prime Minister of India from Bollywood? Well, as Malam Sadiq, one of my teachers and mentors, often says, time will tell. From Global Arena, I am Umar Isa Dandago. This explainer was written and presented by me, Umar Isa Dandago, aka Mr Omeir Khan. A deeply profound gratitude with a great deal of stupendous immensity goes to my friend Abdulrashid Hussain, our South African guy, for aiding us with recording and editing. Let me not forget Hawa Halluru Abubakar for her massively enormous support. The script editors are Zulfah Abdulaziz and Uzair Imam, both of whom level 400 students of mass communication at Bayero University, Kano. On behalf of the producer and other team members, I say, Aapse fir milenge, Allah Hafiz.